Eala just showed up at the Australian Open, and she wasn't alone. The Filipino tennis star rolled in alongside Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, just casually hanging with two of the biggest names in tennis. Fans are losing their minds because this isn't just about proximity. This signals something much bigger about where Eala's career is heading and who's taking notice of her rise. Do you think training with elite players like Alcaraz and Sinner will push Eala into the top 30 rankings this year? Drop your predictions in the comments. Let's get one thing straight. When you show up to a Grand Slam with Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, you're not just another player hoping to make noise. You're someone these elite athletes respect enough to train with, travel with, and publicly associate with. That's not an accident. That's earned. Eala arriving at the Australian Open alongside two of the sport's brightest stars sent shockwaves through tennis social media. Fans posted photos and videos of the trio together, and the tennis world immediately started asking questions. How did this happen? When did Eala become close enough with Alcaraz and Sinner to roll up to Melbourne together? And most importantly, what does this mean for her career trajectory? Here's the context you need. Eala trains at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca.
The first time I met Rafa, I was on the way to his academy. Oh my gosh, I was on the way to his academy because I was gonna try it out before we committed. I was just gonna try it out for a week, and then we ran into him in the airport, in the Madrid airport, and it's kind of embarrassing to say, we kind of ran after him. Like, not ran after, but we were fanning, fangirling, and then we told him, oh, we're going to your academy and stuff like that.
That's not just any tennis facility.
I would think this is a place for someone to learn new things and someone to be exposed to professionalism in tennis, to learn how to be disciplined and to learn how to socialize as well.
That's where elite players go to sharpen their skills under world-class coaching. Alcaraz has connections to the academy through his own Spanish tennis roots. Sinner, meanwhile, has been known to train at various elite facilities around Europe during his off-season preparation. The fact that Eala is in the same training circles as these megastars tells you everything about how seriously the tennis world is taking her potential. You don't get invited into those practice sessions unless coaches and players believe you belong there. You don't get to hit with Alcaraz, a multiple Grand Slam champion and former world #1, unless he thinks you can push him during training. Let's talk about where Eala is right now in her career, because the timing of this Australian Open appearance with Alcaraz and Sinner is absolutely perfect. She just broke into the top 50 of the WTA rankings for the first time in her career after reaching the semifinals at the ASB Classic in Auckland. That's a massive milestone for any player, but especially for someone from the Philippines, where tennis doesn't have the same infrastructure and support system as countries like the United States or Spain. Eala's rise has been nothing short of remarkable. This time last year, she was ranked 138 in the world and playing ITF World Tour events, basically the minor leagues of tennis. Now she's guaranteed a spot in the main draw of the Australian Open and rubbing shoulders with the sport's elite. That's not gradual improvement. That's explosive growth. Her breakthrough came at the Miami Open last year when she reached the semifinals and beat Iga Świątek along the way. Let me repeat that. She beat the former world #1 and multiple Grand Slam champion. That wasn't a fluke. That was a statement that Eala belongs on the biggest stages in tennis. After Miami, she reached her first WTA Tour final at Eastbourne. These aren't small tournaments. These are prestigious events where the best players in the world compete. Eala went from relative obscurity to must-watch tennis in the span of a few months, and the tennis establishment took notice. Now here she is at the Australian Open, not just participating but arriving with Alcaraz and Sinner like it's the most natural thing in the world. The optics of that moment are powerful. Tennis fans see that and immediately understand. Eala isn't just another promising young player. She's someone the next generation of tennis legends considers a peer. Let's talk about what training with players like Alcaraz and Sinner actually means for Eala's development. When you practice with elite competition, you're forced to elevate every aspect of your game. You can't get away with weaknesses because they'll exploit them ruthlessly. Your footwork has to be sharper. Your shot selection has to be smarter. Your mental toughness has to be stronger. Alcaraz is known for his incredible athleticism and aggressive baseline game. Hitting with him means Eala is experiencing the kind of pace and power she'll face against the best players in the world. Sinner brings a different challenge. His consistency and ability to redirect pace make him one of the most difficult players to break down. Practicing against that style prepares Eala for the grinding, physical matches she'll need to win to climb higher in the rankings. Beyond the technical benefits, there's a psychological advantage to training with champions. When you're on the practice court with players who have won Grand Slams and reached #1 in the world, you start to internalize that level of expectation. You stop seeing the top of the sport as some distant, unreachable goal. You see it as something achievable because you're literally standing across the net from people who've done it. Eala's Australian Open draw gives her a legitimate chance to make a statement. She lost in the first round of qualifying last year, which means she's defending almost no ranking points. Every match she wins in Melbourne will boost her ranking significantly. If she wins a couple of rounds, and with her current form that's absolutely possible, she could crack the top 40 or even higher. Here's where things get really interesting. Eala's ranking trajectory for the next few months is set up perfectly for a major leap. She's only defending 390 points through March, which includes her massive run at Miami last year. But she'll be playing much bigger events this year, which means more opportunities to collect points and replace those that drop off. If she maintains anything close to her current form, she could be ranked inside the top 32 by the time Roland Garros rolls around in June. That would make her a seeded player at a Grand Slam. For someone who was playing ITF events just last year, that would be an absolutely ridiculous rise. The Philippines is going absolutely crazy over Eala's success, and rightfully so. Tennis isn't a major sport there compared to basketball or boxing, but Eala is changing that narrative. Filipino fans traveled to Auckland to support her, and they'll be in Melbourne doing the same. One opponent, Donna Vekic, even commented on how impressive the Filipino support was, saying, "There's so many of you guys." That kind of passionate fan base creates pressure, but Eala seems to handle it remarkably well. She's talked about how her family keeps her grounded, how they built the foundation for her career, and how family-oriented culture in the Philippines shapes her approach to success. She's not out here getting a big head or making demands. She's putting her head down, working hard, and letting results speak for themselves. After beating Vekic at the Kuyong Classic, a prestigious warm-up event in Melbourne, Eala said something that should terrify her future opponents. "I want to say this is the best I've ever played. I think I'm in a good moment." That's not arrogance. That's confidence born from preparation and recent success. She beat Vekic twice in the span of a week, first at the ASB Classic in a marathon 3-setter, then again at Kuyong in straight sets. The improvement between those two matches shows how quickly Eala is adapting and learning. That's the mark of an elite competitor, the ability to make adjustments and come back better. Let's address the elephant in the room. Some people will say that showing up with Alcaraz and Sinner is just good PR, that it doesn't actually mean anything for her tennis. Those people are wrong. Professional athletes at this level don't waste time on publicity stunts. If Alcaraz and Sinner are spending time with Eala, it's because they see value in practicing with her. It's because they respect her game enough to believe she can help them prepare for their own matches. The tennis world is incredibly small at the elite level. Everyone knows everyone. Reputations spread quickly. If you're not good enough or if you don't have the right mentality, the top players won't want to practice with you. The fact that Eala has integrated into those circles speaks volumes about how she's viewed by her peers. There's also a practical element to this. Training partners matter. During Grand Slams, players need high-quality practice sessions to stay sharp between matches. Having someone like Eala available, a player who's in great form, who can replicate different styles, who won't take it easy on you, makes her valuable to players like Alcaraz and Sinner. This relationship benefits everyone involved. Alcaraz and Sinner get a hungry, talented practice partner who pushes them. Eala gets invaluable experience hitting with the best players in the world and learning from their approach to Grand Slam preparation. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement that only happens when all parties bring something to the table. Looking ahead, Eala's schedule is loaded with opportunities. After the Australian Open, she'll play events in the Middle East and then head into the North American swing. If she can string together consistent results, not even winning tournaments, just reaching quarterfinals and semifinals regularly, her ranking will skyrocket. The comparison some people are making is to Emma Raducanu's meteoric rise, but that's not quite accurate. Raducanu won the US Open as a qualifier and then struggled with injuries and expectations. Eala's rise is more sustainable because it's built on steady improvement rather than one magical tournament run. She's climbing the ladder methodically, gaining experience at each level before moving up. Her training at the Nadal Academy gives her access to world-class facilities and coaching. She's mentioned that Nadal himself has given her tips during practice sessions. When one of the greatest players in tennis history takes time to share knowledge with you, you better believe that's going to accelerate your development. The technical aspects of Eala's game are solid across the board. She doesn't have one obvious weakness that opponents can exploit. Her serve is improving. Her ground strokes are powerful and consistent. Her movement is excellent. Her mental game, arguably the most important factor in tennis, seems remarkably mature for someone who's only 20 years old. What makes Eala particularly dangerous is her fearlessness. She doesn't shrink on big points. She doesn't get overwhelmed by the moment. When she played Świątek in Miami, she didn't play like someone who was just happy to be on the same court as a champion. She played to win, and she did. That mentality is rare. Plenty of talented players crumble under pressure or play conservatively when facing higher-ranked opponents. Eala goes for her shots. She trusts her game. She competes with a kind of intensity that makes coaches and fans take notice. The Australian Open will be a massive test. The conditions in Melbourne, hot, physical, demanding, favor players who are in peak shape and mentally tough. Eala checks both boxes. Her recent results show she's physically ready. Her performances under pressure show she's mentally ready. If she gets a favorable draw, maybe avoiding the absolute top players in the first couple of rounds, she could genuinely make a deep run. Fourth round isn't unrealistic. Quarterfinals would be incredible, but not impossible, given her current level. Regardless of how far she goes in Melbourne, the statement has already been made. Alex Eala is here to stay. She's not a one-hit wonder. She's not a feel-good story who'll fade away. She's a legitimate contender who's training with champions and competing like one herself. The Filipino flag is flying high in the tennis world right now, and it's flying because Eala is carrying it with pride, skill, and the kind of humble confidence that makes champions. So there you have it. Alex Eala isn't just attending the Australian Open. She's arriving as a legitimate force in women's tennis with the endorsement of champions. If you're excited to watch her journey unfold and want more coverage of tennis's rising stars, smash that like button and subscribe. Who do you think will go further at the Australian Open? Eala, Alcaraz, or Sinner?